Okay, good. Hey. These little mics always make me feel like I'm a like ASMR artist or something. Welcome to Rooted in Respect. Respect. Welcome to my podcast. I want to come sit here. um, Okay, guys, welcome. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you, just first of all, so much for coming. We all really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. This event is super close to my heart, and so I just appreciate you taking the time. I do have notes, so if you see me looking down at my phone, it's just because usually I don't have to have notes when talking, but for this one, yeah. I just want to go over a couple of things just to set the energy. And we do have a code of conduct that we're going to go over just to make sure that this space is safe for everybody here. And then we are going to pass it on to our other panelists, which we'll get into, and then we're going to open it to the community. So I just please ask that I know I might be yapping a lot at you right now, but I just have to get through all of our rules and expectations and all of that, yes? So again, I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for coming. It really means the world. Thank you for taking time out of your Sunday to be here. Whether you showed up here to speak, to listen, to heal, to just hold space, it's very, very valuable. So really thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Today, it's more than just having a conversation, right? The goal is to really just plant these seeds that we need to change the community for the better. There are a lot of things that we can be doing as a community, right? As individuals in a community. And so this is just the start of having these conversations that I feel really truly need to happen when we are in any type of community, but especially our dance community. Yes, I don't think any of us are super foreign to the things that are going on and everything. So it's just truly time to have these difficult conversations. Yes. So I do just want to, before we dive in, just remind everybody that this is getting broadcasted live. It's getting broadcasted live on YouTube and on the iFuego Instagram. So please only share what you are comfortable with sharing publicly. Yes. With that being said, it's still a safe space, but I do just want to remind everybody that it is getting broadcasted. Yes, the reason is because we want to reach more audiences. We want to reach other communities close by to us. So that's the reason why we're broadcasting. A lot of people couldn't make it today, so we want to make sure that these conversations are also heard elsewhere because we have to spread this information. Yes. So please, again, there's zero pressure to speak. Listening is also just as powerful, right? But please just remind yourself that it is getting broadcasted live, if anything. Okay. I do want to say that this is 100% a safe space, but it is also a brave space. Yes. So I just want everybody to know that heavy topics might come up, heavy conversations might come up. And if you ever feel overwhelmed or it's too much, again, you can step to the side, you can step out. We do have this second room through the closed doors that if you just need to take a breather, please, by all means, go take a breather. Yes. My iFuego girls, can you just raise your hand? All the iFuego girlies. So they are all a resource for you. Yes. If you want to sit by one of them, if you feel like I just need to kind of like, sometimes for me, I need to just sit by somebody and just kind of like either hold their hand or just like have my hand on them. Yes. Please know that everybody here is a safe space. I don't think you would be here if not, but the iFuego ladies are here for you if you need to be taken to another room or anything like that as well. Yes. So, again, no explanation needed. Please take care of yourself. Take care of yourself after this event as well. Yes. So again, we're just here to hold space with lots of care. Sometimes heavy topics come up. Yeah. So I'm just going to create basically the container for this space by verbally stating our code of conduct. So I'm just going to ask that you all say yes or okay at the end if you all agree. It's just guidelines to protect everybody in this room, especially since different conversations are going to be coming up. So the code of conduct is: we speak from our own experience, no assumptions. We listen without interrupting or correcting someone's truth. We do ask that you please raise your hand if you would like to speak. You wait until the person before you is fully done, and the panelists are also going to help facilitate having people raising their hands and stuff, but just hold it up. Trust that we see you, but we are holding space for the other person to finish what they wanted to speak upon. You can name individuals when telling your story, but this is not a space to attack or call out with aggression. I just want to make that very clear. This is about truth telling. This conversation is not about targeting. No hate, harassment, gaslighting, or victim blaming at all. I will throw you out so fast. Yes? None of it. None of it. None of it. I do ask that phones just be put away or silenced. You can use them for notes if you have work or children or you need to check in on something. You can totally have your phone right there with you. Please just silence it so that you can just fully stay present and really listen to the conversation. And just a last little reminder that we are all works in progress, okay? So remember that this space is for growth. It's not for perfection. Perfection doesn't exist, yes? But we're holding space for everybody to grow, yes? So if you agree to these guidelines, can I just hear a yes from the room? Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Okay. I just want to talk really quickly about what it means to be a part of a community. A lot of times we hear that term tossed around a lot. Oh, a community, a community. I'm part of a community. What does that actually mean, though? Yes. Being a community member isn't just a title, it really is an action. You have to be an active member to be a part of a community. So, a community remember, it's not just a space that you show up to and think, yeah, I'm a part of it because I just like show up to some socials here and there. No, no, no. It is a space that you have to actively nurture, yes? And it does take having these difficult conversations. It does take putting in the work. It does take respect and boundaries to be an active member of a community. Um, Little bullet points that I wrote: to be a part of a community means to respect boundaries. It also means to speak up when harm is happening. It means to welcome others, which means we're not isolating, we're not excluding, holding each other accountable, not tearing each other down. Yes, we can hold people accountable without tearing each other down. And I think that that also shows a lot of growth in a community when we're able to hold each other accountable with respect still. And most importantly, it really does mean choosing connection and speaking up over any silence. Yes. So I do just want to touch a little bit on silence. A lot of people tend to think that, you know, if I just stay silent, I'm a neutral party. I'm a neutral party. I'm just going to stay silent. Staying silent does not mean you're neutral. It's complicity. Yes. So it's adding to the harm. Um, Gossip, exclusion, clicks, disrespect, all of that is adding to the harm, and that is not building a safe community. So, again, being a community member is an action, it's not a title, and I just really hope that today helps guide all of us and hopefully other people to really step into that action of being a community member, right? So, again, whether you're here to speak today or not, that is totally okay. Just remember that just by showing up and being here, like you are taking action, and that is one of the most important things, especially in this community. Small steps still mean change, right? So it's not going to happen overnight, but it just, your voice really does matter. Your presence really matters. So again, thank you all for being here and showing up for your community. So you're going to hear from each of the panelists. They all have and are bringing in some different perspectives. They are all going to share about like different topics, right? I ask that you listen through all of the panelists, write down notes, questions that come up, and then after that, we're going to open it up to the community. So that's when you can either respond to what one of the panelists said, ask a question, any insights that you have, anything that you would like to share, then we're going to open up the space for that. Just a reminder to please just raise your hand. We are going to come give you these little mics. Liz will come give it to you. So we'll obviously help facilitate that as well. But please know that this space is for you. We want to hear your voices. Yes, your presence really, really matters. So again, I just really appreciate all of you being here. I'm excited for you to hear from the panelists, these beautiful gems of human beings. We have Jose back there as well, manning the computer, but he'll be up here. He's also part of the panel. So yes, I just appreciate it a lot. Any questions about like the code of conduct or the guidelines, anything that's happening logistical wise before I hand it over to the panelists? Yes. As long as everybody's comfortable with it, yeah, you can totally do that. 100%. Yes, if you ever want to record on your own phone, or if there's like a topic where you're like, you know what, like I just want to like also be able to hear this again. 100%. Yes. These videos will also become available after as well, so you can go back and watch the forum, or share it as well. So yes, really good question. Any other questions? Yes. How are you feeling? Good. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So we're gonna start with our panelists, and then we'll get right into it from there. So thank you guys. Anybody want to go first? Rose.
All right. Can I clip this to me?
Yeah, you can clip it.
All right. Maybe. There. All right. So I was telling Kenna when I first got here, I actually do quite a bit of public speaking. Public speaking is a big part of like what I do as a part of my career, and I literally never take notes. I just speak. But I had to write down everything I was going to say about this topic. This is something I've written about. It's never something that I have shared I've spoken about. So it's going to be new for me. So bear with me as I get through it. But if you haven't met me yet, my name is Rose. Some people call me Rosie. I will answer to either. I grew up competing and performing in various dance genres, ballet, modern. You guys know how it goes, right? From the time I was like 3 years old until I was 23. I grew up dancing salsa, merengue, bachata with my family. And so I moved to San Diego about 12 years ago. And when I moved here, I didn't know anyone. I moved here because I was just ready for something new. I actually joined this gym right after I moved here. I was training boxing, but then I found the Latin dance scene shortly after I moved to San Diego. It was just a place that felt familiar to me. It was the first time I actually started learning like the technical side of dance, which was cool, the technical side of Latin dance. And I was like really inconsistent with dance for a long time until the last like 5 or so years. And now I try to go out social dancing consistently. So that's where I am in the dance scene. But most of my time is spent in a matted room, very similar to this. I teach here 6 days a week. I train at a different gym. So I coach Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I compete in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I train it every day. And I did not start Jiu Jitsu for self defense reasons, but the longer I train, the more I realize how effective it is for self defense, not just for learning how to fight, but for learning how to set and respect boundaries. Jiu Jitsu is a sport where closeness is required, very similar to dance. Therefore, respect is also required. And the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu community is not perfect either. We have our own issues. So, sexual assault is not unique to the dance community, but it's unique within the dance community because of the closeness required through dance, right? Jiu-Jitsu is also great for reconnecting with your body, learning how to think, function, and perform under stress. But perhaps it's most important for learning how to heal and be in vulnerable, triggering positions and know a different way out. I'm a survivor of sexual assault, and I truly never connected my training on the mat with my trauma until very recently. I don't know if it's because I was hiding from it, because I hadn't fully confronted the things that had happened to me, or just because I compartmentalized it in my head. But I remember the first time I heard a survivor share her story, and I was like, whoa, I'm not crazy. I was actually probably the only person in that room that was happy to hear that story. Not happy that it happened to her, but happy that I wasn't alone. So I'm going to share a little bit about my story as a survivor because I want to give a face to this topic that we talk about in abstract. If you have no experience with sexual assault, if it's very foreign to you, I want you to feel a little uncomfortable because it is uncomfortable. And I think we talk about it on a very surface level instead of getting into the depths of it. And when I tell you my story, I hope that you don't only see me as who I am today, but I hope you see me as a 12-year-old. I hope you see me as a 17-year-old. And I hope you see the people in your life as well, because we aren't having these conversations to help people in the abstract. We're here to help each other. We're here to help and empower and protect the people in our lives. There's too much stigma around these topics. And it's not taboo to talk about sexual assault. It's not taboo to talk about rape. It is taboo to assault. It is taboo to rape. And that's the narrative that we have to flip. And I hope my story helps to change that. I had just turned 17 the first time I was raped. It was my first time experiencing sex, and it was my friend's older brother. To give context to this situation, I had already moved out of my parents' home because I started college early. I was still living in my hometown, but I was living near the college with a friend who was a couple years older than me and ahead of me in school. But because I graduated early, we started college at the same time. I bring this up in relation to the social dance scene because there's a lot of similarities. This was someone I trusted, someone I knew. I was also surrounded by friends. Alcohol was involved for some, but not for others. It was a late night, and we were all there to have fun. I didn't know I needed to have my guard up, and honestly, I shouldn't have had to. A lot of this night becomes a blur because I just remember saying a few goodbyes. I remember telling people that I wanted to go home, and this man, a few years older than me, the older brother of one of my friends, offered to give me a ride because he said it would be safer. I had not had a lot to drink that night. Honestly, when I was a teenager, I was a bit of a prude, and I was just starting to experiment with that stuff, mostly because my friends were. I don't know how much he had to drink that night, but what I do know is that it was not safer for him to escort me home. We pulled into my driveway, and I thanked him for the ride. He said that he would walk me to my door. So I thanked him at the door, and he asked if he could come inside. And to be honest, I don't remember if I said no at the door, but I do remember feeling worried, worried that I'd given him the wrong idea, worried that I led him on, worried that I would let him down. I remember wanting to go to sleep. I remember this feeling because I have it in my throat right now, this feeling of nervousness and being unsure of what to do. There are a few things I remember about this night in the morning after. Most vividly, I remember saying I didn't want intimacy to continue. I was uncomfortable kissing him because I actually had a crush on his younger brother, the one who I was closer to in age. But I was also curious about making out as someone who didn't have a lot of experience with this. But I do remember adamantly saying I didn't want things to progress. Forcefully, they did. I think I blacked out during that experience because when I woke up, he was gone. I was physically and emotionally in pain. My sheets were stained with blood, and I went to the bathroom, and there was still blood. I was haunted by why I didn't say anything to anyone. I shoved this experience down for a very long time. Recently, in an attempt to find answers, I looked him up on Facebook to see if there was any record of our communication, and there was. There was a message from 2006 that said, "It was fucked up. You told them I raped you." I said, "I'm sorry. That was messed up." It's not that I didn't try to advocate for myself, it was that no one believed me. It was that my attacker proactively told me I was wrong, that my feelings were invalid, that I was the problem. Eventually, I accepted it, and I didn't talk about it because I believed it was my fault. Nearly any time I've told this story since, the response has been something along the lines of, "Well, why didn't you say anything? It couldn't have been that bad. Are you sure you didn't lead him on? Were you drunk? Was he drunk?" As if any of that excuses the behavior or negates my experience. All of these questions reinforce my belief that I was responsible. If we pull up the messages that I just read to you, it's incriminating to me, but not because it was my fault. It's because I was not equipped to handle the situation or those feelings. So instead of fighting it, I just gave in. What's even more shameful is that something similar happened a couple months later. This time it was my friend's boyfriend and his roommate. This time I was drunk. I started drinking after that first experience, which is very common in survivors. This time I remember crying and asking for help. The boyfriend assaulted me, and the roommate watched and did nothing as I asked for help. At this point, I believed it was me because what kind of person experiences this twice? The answer is nearly half of assault survivors are re victimized, and the number grows if it's a survivor of childhood sexual assault. It usually starts with something as simple as inappropriate touch, even inappropriate touch over clothes, something I remember happening to me when I was much, much younger, and it escalates from there. It can morph into accepting abusive treatment reluctantly because you believe it's what you deserve or just how things are. I share my story as a reminder that this is a problem beyond the dance scene, but it is unique within the dance scene because we're in a place where the activity we're participating in does involve closeness, but that doesn't eliminate your voice or your right to set boundaries within this activity. In order to do this, it requires a supportive narrative within the community around assault. It requires trust between dancers and respecting boundaries through action, not just saying we respect boundaries. This is something we learn explicitly in Jiu Jitsu, even though we still have our issues, but something I don't think is practiced enough in dance. So, a few key things I want to focus on from my story, a few key takeaways. You don't have to wait for it to be bad enough. Assault is not only rape. Rape in a context like this usually occurs when multiple boundaries have been crossed in a trusted relationship. Looking back, there were probably multiple instances where these guys were testing the waters, and I was either too naive or too timid to set a boundary. Self defense is not only saying no and fighting when harm is imminent, it is self defense starts with your voice, it starts with setting and reinforcing clear boundaries. And it's okay if that offends people. The guy who raped me was offended when I called him out on it. Self defense is also the responsibility of the community, teaching what enthusiastic consent is on the dance floor, learning how to read body language on the dance floor, listening and not trying to convince or persuade otherwise when boundaries are expressed. Next, good intentions don't negate your discomfort. You don't have to worry about whether someone's intentions are good or bad if it makes you uncomfortable. In the examples I shared, they did not have good intentions clearly. But there have been times on the dance floor or after a social where someone was dancing a bit too close for my comfort, or someone offered to walk me to my car. Some people I trust to dance closely with, some people I trust to walk me to my car, or sometimes I'm just in a space to receive that. Other times I'm not. In those moments, I often find myself making excuses for them. He's probably just new, or he's probably just trying to be nice. And those things can both be true, and we're still allowed to set our boundaries. Their intentions don't have to be bad to make you discomfortable. Now, if you do have pure intentions and you're someone receiving a boundary, you have to remember that it's not about you. Everyone comes into this setting with their own baggage. If you ask to walk someone to their car and they say no, it's not about you. It's something they have to work through on their own time. Lastly, you don't have to understand to love. If someone comes to you and they say that they were harmed, just listen. Don't question it, don't doubt it. It seems really obvious, but I feel like sometimes the first inclination is to try to understand. And you probably won't, because the truth is that person probably doesn't fully understand what they experienced either. I know I didn't for many years, and it's something I'm still working through. You don't have to understand what happened, how it happened, why it happened if someone comes to you in pain. So self-defense also comes from the community, from creating this place where people can share their experience. One of the biggest objections for advocacy for survivors that I've come across in the dance scene especially is, well, so many innocent people are accused of assault, innocent until proven guilty, right? That applies to the survivor too, the person making the accusation. I am innocent of lying about this until it is proven otherwise. An estimated 63% of assault cases do not get reported, and anywhere from 2 to 10% of reported cases are estimated to be false. False because they didn't happen, or false just because they're really hard to prove. About 10 years after this happened, I finally started talking about it more in therapy. I told my parents, but then we never really talked about it again. And it's not that I want to talk about it all the time, but I don't think it's talked about enough. Like I said, I think we talk about it on a surface level. I think we talk about it in general, but we don't talk about the specifics of what we can do and what happens and what the experience is like of survivors. So I'm sharing my story to give a face to the issues that are happening, to show how they can escalate, and to give context to what self-defense looks like in these situations. Jiu-Jitsu has been a powerful tool in practicing these things on a daily basis for me. And sure, I know I'm physically capable, but more than anything, I know how to set and respect boundaries. So I also want to provide myself as a resource for any other survivors or any other people who are interested in doing that for themselves as well.
Thank you, thank you. Okay. Yeah. Cruise ambiance. Thank you, thank you. Who would like to go next?
I could go.
Do I clip this?
Yeah, you can clip it a little bit.
Scared. My hit clip. Do you guys remember hit clips? Anybody? Hi guys. How y'all doing? My name is Ana Cristina. You can call me AC for short. And I am a salsa instructor, studio owner, DJ, promoter, marketing, everything, everything. And I mean, cultural advocate. I think that's one of my biggest things I like to talk about. Um, and what else? I need to follow my notes too. I'm used to just talking and talking. So why this topic matters to me. Basically, being a studio owner, it matters to me a lot because I am a leader in our community, and I have gone through my fair share of things. I've overcome my fair share of things, and I've also protected others from from their fair share of things, right? Too. So it's really relevant, and I want to be as much part of the conversation as I can, so I can support my community and watch out for others as well. So the main topic that I want to talk about is um, basically like risk assessment. Like how can we, like knowing that these awful things happen in our community, how can we tell that something bad's going to happen, right? What are the red flags? What are the yellow flags? What are the green flags, right? And then also boundaries that we can place and things that we can do to protect one another and ourselves. Yeah. So one of the biggest things like that comes to mind is I feel like partner dancing is really reflective of real life. Like you're having a conversation with someone, you're engaging in touch, right? There's consent involved as well, right? So if I can put this as an analogy to like when you go out dancing with someone, right? So or not with someone, but when you go out dancing and someone asks you to dance, the second that the way that someone asks you to dance is already really telling of what kind of person that they are, right? So some things to look out for. Are they asking you to dance like, would you like to dance, madame? And then they wait for you to answer, and then they're like, all right, and then they hold your hand, and you can feel in their touch, do they feel safe? What's their energy like, right? Or are they just trying to grab you? Are they trying to trick you when they're asking you to dance, right? Are they like behind, they tap you on the shoulder real quick so that you don't realize who it is? Yeah. So there's a lot of these things that like over the years that I've started noticing of people. And from being a teacher and I teach a lot of private lessons, I've taught a lot of one-on-ones with guys and stuff, and I've just noticed a lot of these little things that we can pick up on without even knowing someone, right? So the other thing is the way that someone treats you, right? So again, relating it to the partner dancing, it's also like in real life. Like this is also how someone can treat you in a conversation versus treating you in a dance. So in the dance, are they like throwing you around? Are they or are they guiding you? Are they making you feel safe? Are they conversating with you or are they talking by themselves, right? So a lot of these things are good things to watch out for, yeah. And also like in given spaces. Yeah. So the other thing is like when you go to an event and you see what the event is like, right? I like to always look at where people are hanging around. What are they doing, right? The people that are not dancing, it's like, is there a lot of drinking going on? Are there the people on the dance floor? Are there a lot of like dancers, or does it feel like it's just the community, like random people from San Diego that are there, or from other places, right? So um, just red, yellow, and green flags. Yeah. So I wanted to also ask you guys, what are some red flags that you notice when you go to a space or when you're dancing with someone that you've noticed that you can share? Drinking. Good. Why is that a red flag? Hmm. Yes.
Um, and also, I think if you want to dance and improve in dancing, alcohol isn't really shouldn't be involved in overall sport if you want to look at it that way, I think.
Definitely.
So
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So yeah, alcohol is a really big one, right? Because I think a lot of times people try to blame the alcohol, right, as like the reason that they're doing so. Also, like people get sloppy. So what I noticed too, like when I choose to go to an event, I'm like, is it at a nightclub, right, or is it somewhere that they're really trying to push the drinks? Because we know that a lot of times people go to venues because, they want to have a cute drink and stuff too. But if that's like where a lot of that's getting pushed, then it's like, okay, this is not my space, right? What else? Any other red flags that you guys noticed? When they just grab you. Yes. Definitely. She's like, I. Good, nice. Okay, how about yes, go ahead.
Adding on to that, when you say no and you could tell that that person gets upset or frustrated because you said no, it's like, well, maybe I was just tired, but now I actually don't want to dance with you because of your reaction.
100%. Yeah.
Um, or when they keep doing movements that you're not comfortable with following. We know to put our palms like on their shoulders or chest area, but sometimes that's not even, um, I guess, respected. Or even when you voice, oh, I don't feel comfortable doing these types of moves, and then they still do it. Things like that.
Definitely. Yes. I love these.
Sometimes you see people monopolize a new person in the
Mm.
scene and kind of try to like pull them to the side or like, like occupy a lot of their time, and it's hard to know what to do or say in those situations because like
Yeah.
those of us who've been in the community kind of know who those people are,
Right.
but they kind of prey on new people coming in.
As a bystander, what can we do to if you notice that? Anybody?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say that happened to me like recently. Someone actually asked me about a friend on our I Fuego team, and they like I noticed that happening. I never thought of that as a red flag until it happened, and I can't recall what I said, but I mean I said something to the effect of like it's not okay for you to come ask me about this person and like I observed you kind of like hanging around. But yeah, I just wanted to say like that actually, then they'll take it another layer, right? And yeah, I would be like curious to hear what other people's thoughts are on it, but or if other people have had even that too, like people come up to ask you about a particular person and get information from you on them, and being a woman, like a man coming up to me asking about, so tell me more about this person, and this just doesn't feel like that belongs
Right.
in that space, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, like being able to point it out, right? Being able to point it out and be like, oh, this doesn't feel right. So you immediately have that conscience of like, oh, there's something that's kind of weird about this. I think a really good way is to ask them questions back and be like, who's asking? But I mean, you can make them feel, you can humor sometimes like lessens the scariness of it, right? But and be like, why do you want to know about this person? You know, like you can always like start being playful, and then being like, oh, well, I think it's not appropriate, right? You can always like stand up for that person and interject. Or let's say like you are in a public space and you notice, even if you don't know that person, maybe you can go and introduce yourself too. Like let's say that there's a new person that someone's monopolizing and like they're like not leaving that person alone. You can always go check in on them and be like, hey, like I noticed that you're new here. What's your name, right? And this is really good because it leads into how can we protect others, right? And I think a really big thing is that we need to talk to each other more. Like, and it doesn't have to be something super crazy because I've had, issues when people try to get too personal, and I don't like that. I think we should be able to go dance and have like nice, normal conversations with people and go home, and then you can have your own friend group and something on the side, like somewhere else, right? But it's important that we talk to each other and we acknowledge each other's existence, because I think a lot of these things happen when we don't acknowledge each other. Like when we like pass by someone that you know that you've seen them before, you know that you even if you don't know them personally, like give them a smile or like look out for them when you're on a dance floor, like watch the dance floor, like being like, oh, like is everything cool, you know? And even like sometimes I like to watch people social dance all the time. I think just as much as we dance, we should also appreciate other people's social dancing because it's fun and it's exciting to watch others, and support. But I think also in a way we can also watch others to see what are green flags and what are yellow flags, what are red flags. So for me personally, if I'm in a space that I haven't been before, or maybe I've seen people that they're dancing and I haven't danced with them before, I call it scouting. So I'm looking at the dancer, I'm like, how's their basic step? Like I'm such a nerd. But I'll be watching their step. I'm like, oh, does it look a little messy? I'm like, I think it's gonna be like a rough ride. I don't know if I'm gonna dance with that person, right? Or you can always check in with that person that they were dancing with and be like, hey, like how was that dance? Like I saw this, and then you can have conversations about that. But yeah, definitely things that we can look out for. But on the other hand, one last thing is what are green flags? So what are green flags when you go somewhere and you're like, oh, this feels right, the energy is good, the even green flags about people, right? What are some things that you have noticed that are green flags? Mm-hmm.
or this or that. And when those things are respected, definitely a green flag.
Definitely.
One time I was at a congress and a guy was like, "Hey, do you mind if we dance sensual bachata?" And I was like, "Oh my God, no one's ever asked me that." And I just automatically like built trust, and I feel like if I would have said no, he would have been like, "Great, okay, no worries," you know. And I thought that was very the consent piece was very important.
Definitely.
Another green flag is when dancers are like gentle with their touch. It doesn't feel too aggressive, and there's enough space as well. And their hand placement is also another uh, green flag. Like you can tell right away this person has like pure intentions. They just want to dance, and if uh, if their grasp feels a little bit too tight, for me that's like a little bit of a red flag.
Kind of on that note too, I feel like dance is a thing where we need to be allowed to also express ourselves. So when a leader provides an environment and the structure for you to dance, it doesn't feel like they're trying to control. That's something that I'm always like, yes.
The control, yeah. Kayla, did you have something?
Oh, I mean, I keep coming back to this, like the introduction, but when they just ask your name, if you don't know them before, it's like, oh, this person sees me as a person first, like, oh, what's your name as we're walking out? I know sometimes it's a quick exchange if it happens on the dance floor and there's not, yeah, there's always time actually, to ask someone's name.
Someone in the comments said they ask if it's okay to dance closer before they actually do it.
Yeah, so going into also like asking, I like what Yoli said too. I do think, like, personally, that should become a standard. When you invite somebody to dance specifically bachata, you should be asking, are you comfortable with sensual or not? Because a lot of people are not. There are people, for example, that I'm comfortable with dancing sensual with, people that I'm not comfortable dancing sensual with. And I just want to be in an open position and I can still have the dance of my life. Like, we can enjoy it, right? It can be fun. We don't have to be up close and personal, so going into that too, but it's all about behavior. Like, you can sense it from the moment the person invites you to dance, right? Any other comments on this topic? Then I just want to.
I have been. It's also, I think, some of the. Well, I guess this is a red flag, but conversations outside of dance within dancers, I think those are can be green or red flags. Like,
Yeah.
does these kind of topics matter and how they're voicing their opinions, or just in general comments about bodies, about what they care about in dance in general. And I've been in both sides where it's like, oh wow, like this is a trusted person, or wow, that is not a trusted person, even though I haven't danced with them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that can
this
say a
is
lot.
also a red flag. What I've noticed, I do not like it when the lead just keeps talking to me for the whole dance, and I'm like, I I didn't come here. I didn't come here for a speed date. I'm here to dance. So, yeah.
Yeah, when the sorry.
I want to add real quick that consent, dancing is a conversation, right? Lead, follow, and the consent doesn't end at the beginning where you just ask someone to dance. It's throughout the entire dance. We both have to be aware because I've had follows too. They get a little bit too close to me, and I'm like, hey, there's a consent level boundaries that can fluctuate and change throughout the dance. So make sure that that's there as well. That's the red flags and the green flags. There's flags all the time throughout the entire like 3 minute song or whatever. So hopefully it's not a 10 minute salsa song, but it's that consent is a continuous conversation. So our goal is to let people be aware and teach them of that. I've been dancing for 15 years and it's like still learning what that means.
Yeah, when people adjust, when you set a boundary and people actually adjust, that's like, yeah.
The biggest red
Like,
flag.
yes.
One of them. Yeah, for sure. Anything else on this topic?
Back on what we were talking about, what we can do as a community, I really love the topic of risk assessment. I had two thoughts on this, stemmed from the jiu-jitsu community. So in jiu-jitsu, there is this stereotype that white belt women get preyed on by higher belt men. It's a similar dynamic to new dancers coming in. And we all know the people who have been in the dance scene much longer. And of course, we want to dance with new dancers, right? But not in a predatory way. I think a lot of this comes down to also educating the new dancers on what is and isn't normal behavior, because sometimes they might feel flattered. This person really likes me. This person thinks I'm a great dancer. And for white belt women in jujitsu, I let them know you're not special. They've done this a million other times, you know? And so educating new dancers on normal and not normal behavior. And then also within the leads, if maybe there's a conversation that we are not involved in as follows or as women in the community, you have to be able to hold each other accountable and let them know when they're talking about someone inappropriately or in an inappropriate way, or make sure that, you know, it's okay to meet someone that you want to get to know better within the community, but there's a way to do it. And so I think within our little, you know, micro communities, we need to hold each other accountable as to on both ends. It's not only our responsibility.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and give the mic to our next panelist. Who? No, get it, get it. It's okay. So yeah, really good point on all of that, right? And I think that all of us for like as well, just noticing and for us to become more aware of, okay, is this a green flag? Is this a yellow flag? Is this a red flag? I suggest maybe the next one we go to try and play around with that and kind of notice how they're approaching you to even ask you to dance, right? For me too, I am a big person on literally just saying no. I also am never afraid to walk away. Many of you have seen me walk away from people on the dance floor. And if they're not nice about it, I'm not going to be nice about it back. Yes, I think that acting out of respect and out of a good place is always important. But I do just want to encourage and empower everybody in this room to please, if you notice a red flag and you are not comfortable, you don't owe anybody any of your time or any explanation. Just walk away because it's not even worth it at that point. Yes, but recognizing these flags is really important. So I love that. Thank you, AC, for sharing.
Thank you, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Juanito Sochipi Conoro. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I want to give you thanks. Thank you for having us all here. Also to Queerland Dance San Diego. I think they're the ones who connected us. Um, I also want to give space and validate and say that I'm hearing what you're all saying. You know, like you shared something very powerful. Thank you for that. Thank you for being very vulnerable about that. I think that's really important. Um, so I come here today as a queer, non-binary, displaced indigenous person who has been in the dance scene, in the salsa, bachata, Latina dance scene since 2003 here in San Diego. So like, I'm a veterana. Like I've been around. Um, and throughout this whole time that I've been around, I've seen a lot of changes within the dance community. When I first entered the dance scene, I was quickly assigned, you know, like based on my appearance, um, what I was supposed to be within the dance scene. So as a masculine presenting person, as a top person, I was quickly assigned to be a lead, you know. And so I think that a lot of times now that I reflect upon that, that gave me so much social currency. And I think within the land dance community, what I mean by that is like being tall, being a lead, you know, with the follow lead thing, really gave me so much to be wanted, I guess, like power, the power dynamic. As a masculine presented person, I was invited to be part of conversations where women, children, and queer people would not be part of. And where now that I am expressing myself as my true you know, my true self, I'm now excluded. So I think that I come from this place of privilege, and I have to recognize that. I really do have to recognize that, and I also have to recognize that my appearance can also be um, harmful to the people because the people that look like me have caused harm on women, on queer people, and I acknowledge that. I think it's important to say that. I've been dancing for many, many years. I started dancing ballet folklorico. I'm a Mexican in 1992. I first started, like I said, dancing salsa here in 2003 with Rumba Rica, like way back in the days. David Stein actually happened to be part of Rumba Rica when he got out. He created Majesty in Motion. I actually auditioned for Majesty in Motion when it started, a long time ago. Um, Something I really don't speak about, but I think it's also important for me to say. I am a veteran. I served in the United States Army, but something that I do say, the reason I don't talk about it because I usually don't say it because I come from a very non-patriotic perspective, and I think it's important to say that because there's different perspectives. A lot of patriotic perspectives and non-patriotic are it's also valid for me, and just that's why I say don't thank me for my service. But the reason that I say that I do the reason I bring that up is because in 2006, that's when I first was introduced to bachata. And I remember there was a couple dancing bachata. I was stationed in Georgia, and there was a couple dancing bachata, and they were just like the most sensual, connected people on the dance floor. And I was like, I want that. I want that for me. But then I remember thinking, but I'm never gonna get that because I wasn't allowed to express myself fully in the Latin dance floor like that with another um, different body person, like whether it be masculine, trans, or whatever. And so I think that that's where it kind of like ignited my thought of like I want to break away from these traditions because I think a lot of these traditions and also affect the queer community. I think a lot of times we were talking with the panelists, it's like a lot of our struggles are kind of like, lateral to each other. A lot of these things that people do with cis women or women also translates to what they do to the queer community. And so in 2011, I met my best friend. His name is Chris. Right now he's in LA. And that's when I remember I had my that experience that I wanted, the connection with another person, the being able to dance freely with another person without having any limits. And that was in 2011, Las Vegas Salsa Congress. And I think ever since then, that's when I've started breaking away from the binary. And in 2014, that's when we started, like now they have like Zoom classes where they do online classes. Girl, I was doing that like in 2014. So like this ain't you been doing it, like and I think that and that's what I mean. I think that all of this has given me privilege. Being a seasoned dancer, being a leader has really given me that perspective. I think that also has protected me a lot from a lot of these harms that I've seen people, be part of. A lot of the people that I dance with are follows, and not necessarily women. And I think that I see how other people treat them and I'm like the witness. So I think for many years I'm going to go a little bit into accountability. For many years, like I witnessed this, but I don't think I had the tools to realize what is my role in this. How am I facilitating harm to be caused in this? And I think we talked about it, being a bystander. And I think that um, now I come here as to interrupt those cycles. I really do. I come here to be an ally. I come here to say like no more, like to be honest. And I really that's why I appreciate you being able to do that because I know that if it's happening to you, it's gonna happen to somebody else from another a different community. Um, and one of the reasons that one of our panelists, she was mentioning that she's a newbie here in the dance community, and I think that it's important to see that perspective, newbies versus like the veteranos, the veteranos, the oldies. I think that gave me so much perspective because like it reminds me of like who I was when I came in. Not girl is not even like I'm not even that person anymore. I don't even know who she is. I really don't. So I think that, for me, interrupting this binary is actually a safety technique. To interrupt is to say Like these binaries that we have accepted for a long time have actually caused some harm on us, not on mujeres, on women, and also queer people. And I think that um, it's important for me to come here and say that as a community advocate, I think it's also for me important to say that I'm here as that because a lot of times, like when we speak up, people are like, okay, here comes interrupters, here comes the people who are going to say something, here comes something that's going to cause some kind of effect, interruption, and it's going to not be peaceful. But the thing about it is that I'm saying this because I have to respect myself. I'm not saying this to not respect you. So my self-respect equates disrespect to you. And I think we see that a lot of times. We're talking about boundaries. We're talking about um, consent. And a lot of times, like the people that we interact with, that's what they think. It's like, oh, this person is being disrespectful toward me by setting her boundaries. No, 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 we're not doing that. Like that's how it's happening. Um, I think that I also have to look at myself in my own privilege because I do feel like I have a whole lot of these privileges. It's like who who am I showing up for, and what am I doing to make sure that this space is safe as well. um Let me get my notes, sorry. So I want to talk a little bit about accountability. I think too, it's something that we talked about in the pre-panel discussion, and I think it's like, what does accountability look like? I think that accountability for me, if it's safe and healthy, it's to be including everybody that's involved. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times we perpetuate typical judicial systems where we push out the person that caused harm instead of finding a way to, I don't know, for lack of better words, retrain so they can come back in. And if something should happen, they're the ones who are going to be holding other people accountable for it too, because they already learned the process. They already learned that. And the reason I say it has to be healthy and safe is because we also want to hold space for the people who were harmed by it. We don't want to make sure, we don't want to put that person in harm again. But I think it's also important to have some other type of people to be able to bring those people in forward. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it. It has to be men. Men, you have to step up. Like you really do have to step up. My brother, I love my brother, and he's all like, "Yeah, but I'm an ally," and I'm like, "Whatever." I'm all like, "But are you out there when I'm not looking, protecting, like women? Are you protecting queer people? Like, I mean, I know we weren't going to talk about it, but or but that's just me. Like that, men do have to step up and hold other men accountable as well. Because a lot of the times that this is happening is men are the people who are causing this harm. So okay, yeah, and I think that a lot of times the Latin community um become this accountability. People think that it's like it becomes damage control rather than repair. It's like we would rather protect this image, we would rather protect this interruption, making sure everything's nice and settled, than really worrying about the person who was harmed, or making some type of repair, like concrete repair. And we'll talk about like what maybe repair would look like as well. And this somebody talked about here about comprehension. Like a lot of times, like when people are trying to understand, like when something happens and somebody says this happened to me, the what people often ask is like let me try to understand it. And I think that in trying to understand what happened, we missed having compassion for these people, or for the people that have been harmed. And I think that a lot of times, comprehension, Alok, they are a non-binary poet. They talk about comprehension versus compassion. It's a lot of times that we try to understand the people in order to have compassion for them, when we can just be compassionate from the get-go, believe them, and try to make that repair as well. Okay. So I think that I'm going to be talking about some of the barriers, and because I think it goes with a little bit of accountability. So what, like in order to practice accountability, Like we need to create safe spaces and name those barriers. I think some of the barriers that I personally see in holding people accountable or even in these spaces is the ecosystem of silence. We talked about that, of staying silent, of being a bystander. I would also say culture erasure. I think sometimes a lot of times like it's like a very certain culture that is accepted and the other cultures, and I'm not saying like culturally queer culture and everything. That's what I mean, women culture and all that stuff. And then also performance over protection. I think that a lot of times the glorification of these artists or these people who cause harms, often creates a distance, and this distance that is created by saying, "Oh my God, this person has a line, this person can spin, this person can do that." It continues to create this space, and this space actually prevents us to hold them accountable for. So I think it's like we have to humanize them too and know that they make mistakes too, rather than put them in some kind of pedestal and say like, "Oh my God, they're amazing, they can do this, they can do that." But it's also important to be like, no, they're also human and they're gonna make mistakes, and we also have to hold them accountable, just like how we would hold anybody accountable. And also at times, a lot of times, it seems like people within these power positions, and I think it's another topic, power dynamics. Oftentimes that a barrier that I see is that they're actually giving a choice to be held accountable or not. And I'm just like, girl, like, no, like, you don't get to choose, especially a person who's been harmed. It's like, what do they need? If they need you to be held accountable, that's also important. But because of this power dynamic and this pedestal that we often put them on, a lot of times, um, they have that choice. I'm not gonna get held accountable for this. I'm not gonna do this because, people already have a high standard of me. And so these barriers create unsafe spaces. Like we talked about accountability, we talked about the barriers and what these barriers do. They continue to create these unsafe spaces, and I think at this moment is that time that we have to interrupt those. And I'm really appreciative of this because I think this conversation right here may be uncomfortable. It's interrupting those barriers. It's an action. It's somebody's doing something about it. I don't think anybody else here in the San Diego Latina Afro Latina dancing. I haven't seen anybody. And it's also important for me to recognize that I mostly see femme women in the audience, like hombres, where are you? You know what I'm saying? Like this is a conversation where you have to be part of too, you know? And it makes me wonder, like, why aren't you here? Like, what's going on that you aren't here? And so a lot of times, like people going into safety now, a lot of times people think safety is physical. Safety is not only physical. We've heard a lot of these stories online that where people were emotionally unsafe, they were energetically unsafe, there were different types of unsafe, where because people only think that safety looks a certain way. And the same thing is that women's safety looks different from queer safety. Queer safety looks different from collective safety, and I think that's also important to see and understand within all of these occurrences that have been going on. And I think that one thing that people are worried about, like we talked about, like not naming people or stuff like that. And I respectfully say, and I challenge that too. I think it's important to name it, to say it. And it's not to create a gap, but more to create some kind of bridge, like to continue that person, to bring that person in and hold them accountable again, with always safety and health in mind for anybody who may find me in a vulnerable position. And I think that's with safety. That's if we were able to do that, that's how we'd be able to do that as well. Um, I already said that. So just I'm almost finished. Some of the things that I feel like that we can start doing in this moment. I think I talk a little bit more. This is for everybody, but I'm really focused on newbies. beginners. Get to know yourself a little bit more. Trust your intuition. She got you, girl. Like she got you. She really do. And I think that when you get to know yourself a little bit more, you start knowing what your boundaries are. So it's like, no, you know what? I don't feel comfortable doing this. I don't feel comfortable that. So like, I'm not gonna allow that to happen. So get to know yourself more. Along with trusting yourself, know your support system. Like who's there to be a support system? Who are the key people that you can go to if something should happen that you can run and be like, hey, I need some kind of support. And then lastly, I think that if you see something, say something. Like seriously, I got you, girl. Tell me, you know. And I think it's important to say that to um, continue interrupting these cycles of harm. There's been a lot of harm, and I think like my heart is with the people who have been harmed, because again, like me being in a different position of privilege now, like I've been cited because of who I am, in which I'm totally fine with that. But I still have some kind of privilege within the scene, and I'm gonna use it to do whatever I can to support y'all. Thank you.
What's that go like? Ozzy Meneses. I know some of you may know me from the Tranqui Foundation. So I'll give you a little bit of background about myself and then talk about what's been going on recently and our goals for the future. So first of all, appreciate everyone being here, Ken and Rose, for providing this space to have. Our goal is productive conversations, productive discussion. I started dancing about 15 years ago here in San Diego. Before that, I was a shy dancer. Like growing up, I would not dance. Like my mom, they would force me on quinceañeras. When they would finally get me out dancing, then I would not leave the dance floor. So to me, dancing became an escape that I didn't even know was an escape. To a certain point, I actually said that I hated dance. And now, have you ever heard someone say I would never date a dancer? Like I've heard that, and I'm like, ouch, that hurts, you know. But it's the concept of dance. Like at that point, when I said I hated dance, I was at a low point in my life. I was blaming so many different things that was going on in my life on dance, when in fact dance was my escape. Dance was the thing that I turned to when I figured out some of my problems, some of the shit I was dealing with. Like dance was there. So um, my personal story, my drive behind this, I actually lost my mother to breast cancer 15 years ago now. She always loved to dance. She was one of the people that forced me to dance. I started dancing about a year after she passed away, so she never actually saw me dance. And she danced for, she passed away from breast cancer, and some of what we did with our siblings is we would do like fundraisers for breast cancer and things like that, donate it, do the Susan G. Komen walk. Fast forward a few years after I've been dancing, I started doing a fundraiser, which was a dance social. So we called it a Pink Tour Breast Cancer Awareness Fundraiser about 10 years ago. Did that as an annual event, you know, always going to parties. I'm like, oh, sure, I'll do one myself. Then pandemic hit, gave a pause to that. Fast forward again. I lived in the Bay Area for 3 years. When I came back to San Diego, I actually started an event production company called Tranqui Productions. So some of you may remember when that started. It was basically a party. Like at that point, I had known all the veteran dancers. I had known people like Kenna, Ana Cristina, that we, danced, over a decade ago. It's weird to say it, over a decade ago. And then when I came back to the scene, I was just a huge social dancer. So then I got to meet all the new people, everyone who learned to dance through the pandemic. That dance helped them after it was allowed, because I was in the Bay Area, dancing was not allowed. But once it was allowed, it was what helped us go through and keep going. So then not only did I know all the new people, I knew all the veterans, I knew the DJs, I knew the instructors, everything. We had a huge parties. We had bachata brunches. We had like bottomless mimosa, bottomless bachata brunch is what we call it. And throughout that 6 months, 9 months of having these events, I went from doing one event a month to doing 6 events a month. Meanwhile, still having my full-time job. I was like just driven, just doing everything, going to it. And people would call me out. It's like,
you're just having these parties where people are just getting drunk and all this. And I was like, well, I'm not. Yes, okay, we are. So then I had to do my own self-reflection as to what I was doing, what I was getting out of it, how I was reflecting on myself, and what I was using, I guess you could say, utilizing the energy of dance, what I was using it for. And I did a lot of soul searching as well, not just in the dancing, in my personal life, in my work, my career, and all that stuff. I did a couple of spiritual journeys to figure out I'm from Guatemala. I even went to a Mayan shaman in Guatemala, like, yo, help me out, guide me. And at that point, I ended up knowing that I needed to shift the energy of what I was doing. So shifted Tranqui Productions to become the Tranqui Foundation. I tell people I got the government involved. Turned it into a nonprofit. Our focus is harnessing wellness through dance. That is our not only our tagline, but also in our legal paperwork. It's a little bit longer. It says our focus is to harness the healing properties of dance and the arts. It's our legal paperwork. So now our goal is to still do socials, still do events. At that point, started doing also, our goal is dance wellness programs. So for me, it's about, we all have found throughout the years, some of us who have been dancing this long, even maybe people who have only dancing 2 or 3 years, you go through phases of dancing. I mean, I was just having a conversation an hour ago with someone about, oh, I haven't been out social dancing as much right now, but now I am or not. We go through phases of that, and our energy, as long as we figure out what our energy is, then we're like, okay, we harness that. So that's my goal. Our goal with the Tranqui Foundation is to take all the good vibes of dance and then keep moving them forward. Like a month ago, we did a free event for the community in City Heights. Ana Cristina was one of our instructors, and it was for people that haven't danced before. It's like live music. It's free. It's free. Come check it out. There's vendors. There's community organizations. It's free. Got to use that free word sometimes to get a lot of people to come out. At the same time, while we're doing all these like good events and good things and putting on socials, we have a social with Ana Cristina in 2 weeks. There's also the bad vibes that are happening. There's also the situations behind the scenes that we're trying to manage, like personally, right? Imagine in the past week, all the good things you've encountered, but then also all the bad things. Sometimes those bad things are just small and you're able to just brush them off. Sometimes like they leave you reeling for like an hour, you don't do anything, you know? So as we started to do more and more events, then we're like, okay, well, there's also situations that can happen. There's situations of too closeness, of creepers, of touching, people even fighting. I mean, we're all humans, so this happens regardless of whether it's male, female, 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 male, male, like egos happen. I mean, sometimes I've even had to kind of step in between DJs, kind of having tough words, you know, so it happens to all of us, new people, oldies, we're talking about oldies. So I think it's about managing situations as we become leaders, as we become event organizers. We are starting to host spaces. And what is the drive between hosting those spaces? Is it money? Is it profits? Is it people? You start to figure that out. You start to feel what an event is like. Okay, they're really more for profit. You understand a business perspective. You can respect that. As business owners, you see like other businesses doing things, but then they're like, they could be doing good things as well. What is their drive? So I had to ask myself those same questions. Me, as I'm going through having relationships myself, romantic relationship, personal relationships. How do I define myself and my energy and what I'm growing as a community? Even the stuff that I'm going through personally. Like I have someone in my family that's currently being abused, that we had to do a temporary restraining order, and now we're doing legal paperwork and all that stuff, and all that affects me personally. And then now in the dance scene, right? In the dance scene, I've encountered bad energy when I hear people talking about it, even publicly on social media about other people, and I'm like, you shouldn't be talking bad. Like we don't need to be putting out bad energy. And then I'll personally share, I had a dance leader come to me and give me shit about talking about the bad energy. They're like, oh, you shouldn't be talking about any of the bad stuff that's going on in dancing. I'm like, are you telling these other people, the people that are talking bad, leaders, other leaders, talking bad about other leaders, are you telling them not to talk the bad shit? Because you're coming to me telling me not to highlight the bad things that are going on, right? And I think for me, this part of this discussion is to address some of the situations, because even personally, when I've gone through a lot of bad situations, a lot of personal stuff, like I think Rose mentioned it, it's like you just feel like it's you. Like you might blame yourself. You might silo yourself. You might like not be comfortable asking for help, you know? And for me, when I was running Tranqui Productions, it was just me doing everything. Part of having it now be a nonprofit or an organization is that we're run by a board of directors. So me trying to handle situations by myself just became overwhelming. So now it's like my board of directors like, yo, I need your help. Like I need help handling this situation. Even with Kenna and myself, we've managed to handle some situations right now where I'm like, I don't know how to handle this. Like, need someone else. Like, it sometimes consumes us. Like your own problems consume you. If you're an empathetic person where you try to help other people, their problems will start to consume you too, because you're trying to find solutions. You're trying to put yourselves in their places. Like, so not only do we go to dance for all the good vibes and all the great things, all the exercise. For us, we do focus on physical, emotional, and mental positive aspects of dance. But then it's also humans. There's also egos involved. There's also the bad stuff involved. And for us, it's how do we manage that? The first thing we want to talk about is to be able to talk about it, right? Our Tranqui Foundation, our events, our dance wellness programs, and things like that. The goal is for them to be safe and inclusive spaces, so that when you come here, you're ready to come and take that part of that experience. You will. If you want to step away, okay, right? But some of that is like us dancing for as long as we've gotten to learn some of that stuff just by sometimes experiencing the bad situations. But we want to talk about them. We want to be able to maybe put out some educational stuff, have conversations, discussions like this. Maybe something is so logical and obvious to me, but it's not to another lead. Maybe a lead that is new into dancing is being taught by a lead that is not aligned with safe spaces. So then we have to recognize that. As an event organizer myself, I know Nicole mentioned alcohol, right? Alcohol was one of the things that I had to curb in my events and not have the bottomless bachata brunch, as fun as that sounds, bottomless mimosas, trust me. I lived in the Bay Area for a while. That was like the hit. We had to curb that so that there was some sort of limit. Because once you're having fun, you have one or two drinks, you're in a great vibe, then you start to drink more. I was there. Part of my journey in turning from that to the nonprofit and all that, I have chosen myself to stop drinking alcohol. About 2.5 years now, I haven't drank alcohol. And part of it is where I feel I'm going with my events, my journey, so that I'm at one of my spaces, one of my events or classes or whatever, I am more aware of what's going on, so that I can see when someone else is having maybe a little bit too much to drink. Both leads, both follows. To me, your real self, some people are like, oh, well, they're a good drunk, they're a bad drunk. Well, I'm sober, I'm this. I'm like, your real self is somewhere in between sober and drunk. That's where your real self lies, right? And that, to me, is where it shows your drive is there. Is your drive pure? Is it intentional? Are you actually dancing right now for the dance experience? Or are you dancing to try to hook up? And that goes for both leads and follows. If you're trying to hook up, then how are you being about it? Are you being more aggressive? Are you being abusive? You get to the point where it becomes to the extreme of like sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual harassment. People don't know those levels. Me being in the corporate world, we get corporate training on sexual harassment, right? But not all of us get that. And even then, some of us get that and just click through the training. We're like, click, 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 and don't actually associate it to dancing. So part of what we want to encourage everyone is to give us feedback. We have our code of conduct, we have our reporting mechanism to the Tranqui Foundation, but we want to do a bigger effort, a community-wide, community-led effort to be able to address these situations. So one of the main things I'm going to encourage, and we're going to work even as panelists and as leaders to encourage, is communication. Because if we don't know that something's going on, then we can't address it. If someone comes to me at an event and be like, hey, someone did this to me. And I'm like, who? Well, I don't want to tell you. I'm like, you realize I can't do shit if you don't tell me who it is. But as an event organizer, I'm responsible. I've had an event where like people that were not even part of the dance scene, they were whatever, came, started drinking, and they were just kind of like dancing everyone, kind of like sloppy. I'm like, hey, like they were friends of the owner of the establishment, like, yo, watch them, blah blah blah. Everything was fine, whatever. He just kept doing it, and then eventually someone was like, oh yeah, you know, I kept like blah blah blah, and then he grabbed my butt, and I was like, wait, hold on, what? It just crossed the line when he's like, when he actually went and touched you. Yeah, but it's fine. I'm like, no, it's not fine. She's like, well, she's like, I'm a bartender. I'm used to it. Like, I pushed him away, blah, blah, blah. Like it's someone who has a stronger character. And I'm like, that's still not right. And now I'm like, he might be doing it to someone else. So as event organizer at that moment, it's my space to then kick that person out. And we did. And it was someone that wasn't part of our dance scene, wasn't part of this, like I said, friends of the owner. And I told the owner, yo, like this is it, like last chance. And we had to kick him out. There's degrees to handling all types of situations, and part of it is us teaching ourselves as leaders what we can do. The resources, for instance, that Kenna has on the table is some of that educational resources. So the main thing I want to highlight is that we're not alone in this, and that we all go through shit. We all go through good things, and we're sharing this in dance spaces. We appreciate that, but we also go through bad things. You know, you're not alone. Maybe you're able to open up to someone else. Maybe you're able to open up as an anonymous reporting way. And that's, we want to share that as well. Because even if it's anonymous, what we can do as leaders is watch, keep a closer eye on maybe a person or a situation. And then when something crosses the line, we're really more prepared and equipped to do so. You know, just like when you take CPR training to do certain things in case something happens, that's our goal too. So we're open to suggestions. The Tranqui Foundation, you can reach us at our Instagram. You can message me privately as well, to be able to sometimes just have a space, a safe space to talk about it. Sometimes all you need is someone to listen to. Sometimes you need someone to take action. Maybe I'm not the one, or the Tranqui Foundation is not the organization to take action, but we can help guide you in that direction. So opening it up to any questions, any discussions, we will at this point, after, you know, Rio goes. But yeah, I just want to share that with you.
We just have two more panelists. I just want them to touch on their topics, and then we're going to open it up to you guys. Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation at the time.
Here. Bear with me. This is my first time talking in front of the civilians. Okay. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Rio Macalisang. I am a registered nurse in the Philippines. And here in the United States, I am serving as an active duty military, specifically in the US Navy. I've been serving for more than 10 years and counting. And during my shore duty tour, I was one of the sexual assault prevention response victim advocate for Naval Base San Diego. What I do is during my watch, I have the hotline, and the survivor, or I will use that word interchangeably. The victim would call, and no matter what time of day, it could be at 2 a.m., 4 a.m., I would respond to that call, and I would respond to wherever the victim needs me to be. And my main focus is the victim, not whoever did it. My main focus is the victim, and I make sure that she is safe physically and emotionally, and I make sure that I empower her and also give her the resources that are available for her. Now, this is not my main job in the military. It's just like what we call a collateral. It's like a volunteer service. I'm not getting extra pay for this. I volunteer myself because I have a really strong passion to advocate for the victims of sexual assault. Let me tell you, when I was a registered nurse in the Philippines and I was assigned to a psychiatric ward, and my first ever patient is a victim of sexual assault, and I saw it right in front of me, the devastating effect of sexual assault for a victim and her family. Now, I also want to let you know that before I proceed, the Navy didn't send me here. I am not representing them. I came here on my own, and this is all for me. I also want to let you know that I'm not representing any dance team, and it's me. And before proceeding as well, I want to let you know that if in any time or any moment in this session you feel distressed, feel free to step out as long as you want. So the reason why I'm here is because I have a lot of observation, and I have noticed a lot of issues in the Latin dance community. I am a leader in the military, but I am, after my long days of work, my job is so stressful. Couldn't even imagine. I come home and I would like to dance and de-stress and have fun. You know, that's all my purpose, like why I come to dance. I want to have fun. But lately, after hearing all the issues in the Latin dance community and seeing how the community responds to it, it's just so disappointing. I'm so frustrated. There's a lot of questions that came into my mind. I'm like, am I really happy while I'm social dancing, knowing that somebody is suffering in silence, knowing that someone is getting sexually assaulted around me? Am I really happy knowing that? Am I really happy dancing, knowing that somebody is not safe around me? And also more questions arise. I'm like, am I really if this thing happened to me in the dance world, will somebody listen to me? Will somebody believe me? Will somebody step up? Will my so-called friends and teammates in the dance scene, will they step up and speak for me? And I am just really frustrated thinking of the answer. So I have a note. So I understand nobody wants to be involved, and it's really hard to encourage everyone, but I am so proud of everyone that's here today, because that means everyone here wants to bring change. And also want to thank Kenna and Rose. They are so phenomenal. And I hope a lot of dance instructors and leaders in the community will be inspired. So let me tell you, like I said, I know nobody wants to be involved, but let me tell you what that sounds like. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be involved. I don't care if someone is suffering in silence, and I don't care if someone is being sexually assaulted around me. I just want to dance. That's how it sounds like. Does it sound right? So let me before I end this, let me leave you the meaning of definition of sexual assault. So sexual assault is defined as intentional sexual contact characterized by use of force, physical threat, or abuse of authority, or when the victim does not or cannot consent. One of the problems that I have noticed in the community is they don't even know what consent is. Let me tell you the meaning of consent. Consent needs to be clear and unambiguous. It requires active, enthusiastic agreement from both parties involved at every stage of the sexual intercourse. Consent is freely given. Just because someone is silent and lacks resistance, does not mean consent is given. So a lot of us probably think that sexual assault is the usual, like, no, and then you're kicking, and that's not always the case. Sometimes it's silence, and sometimes it lacks resistance. So consent, there should be no coercion, threats, or intimidation, and an individual should not be influenced by any pressure or manipulation. So a person can only give consent if they are aware of what they're agreeing to. Therefore, a person must be of sound mind and able to understand the nature and the consequences. So, therefore, a person cannot give consent if they are incapacitated due to alcohol. So, I have noticed that we have normalized the rape culture. Like, once, if you are if someone is intoxicated with any drugs or alcohol, that person cannot give consent. So if you touch that person, that's sexual assault. And also, consent is not a one-time agreement. Just because you had sex with someone today doesn't mean that you agree to do it. You know, it's always turns like every day you have to ask. Okay, so I want to also emphasize the importance of bystander intervention. So another issue in the Latin dance community is the lack of bystander intervention. So in the military, we have this so-called camaraderie, even though we hate each other. Like, like probably she stole your man, or you got this award, I hate you, you know? Like, but when I see that person that in danger, I don't care. I will put aside that hate. I will help that person. That's one of the bystander intervention. And also, I have been going to festivals. I've been performing, and I've been doing this so-called a direct approach. And I know that my teammates are probably thinking, she's crazy, because when I see my teammate is not feeling well, or I see that she's intoxicated, I always like watch her, and I always make sure that she's safe. And if I see her with another man, I would go to her and like, are you drunk? Are you okay? Are you sure you know this person? I always do that. And the guy was like, what the hell? And like, what's your name? What's your social media? Like, you know, it's like, I know, call me crazy. I don't care if you think I'm crazy, but I'd rather take that than hearing a bad news the next day, you know? So also, I suggest that dance studio, maybe it's gonna be hard, but performance teams, right? We always have like an hour a week or 2 hours a week of practice. Maybe like an hour a month, or maybe before a festival. Allot that time for bystander intervention trainings. There's a lot of scenarios that you guys can do, and maybe you have already been doing it when you guys go out, like with your fellow girls, you know. It's like, how are you guys going to keep each other safe outside in the dance world and in the social dances? So you can do that too. And lastly is victim blaming. So I always say this to everyone. Victim blaming is like, oh, it's your fault because you're wearing that clothes. You're so sexy, you're asking for it. That's one kind of victim blaming. And also, oh, it's your fault. You've been out until 2 a.m., so you're asking for it. Nobody is asking for it. I always say this, it's not the clothes you're wearing, it's their evil minds. A rapist will always be a rapist, no matter if you're fully clothed. Like, I've seen articles, a nun has been raped. She's wearing all that clothes all over her, and also a person inside her house has been raped. So no matter where you are, no matter what you're wearing, it's not your fault. It's the rapist's fault. So we should start, instead of blaming the person, blame the rapist. And also, before I end, lastly, I would like, there's a lot of resources, but I would like to leave this very important hotline. It's called the National Sexual Assault Hotline. It is free and confidential, and a trained staff will listen without judgment, and they will connect you to a local health facilities. They will also tell you about the resources available. I don't know if you guys know about the rape kit. It's like a safe kit, like something happened to you. You know, victims, they don't always report right away. They sometimes don't know what happened. They're like, it takes years for them to report. One of my clients, she came to me and she told me that she is so annoyed by her mother because her mother is forcing her to report, but she said she's not ready because it's not, like it's hard, you know. We don't know how she feels. So there is a rape kit. If it happens to you and you're not ready to report, they can gather evidences and they will keep it for 20 years. And if you decide to report, they will keep it up to 50 years for evidence. And the National Sexual Assault Hotline, if you want to take this down, it's also, I will also like, just ask me later on, but the National Sexual Assault Hotline is 1-800-656-HOPE or 4673, and I encourage dance studios to also post it on the dance studios. And we also have this no wrong door policy. Um, you know, when you are in distress, it's kind of hard to scroll and look for the number or Googling it, and you may probably end up with a wrong agency, but I just want to let you know that their no wrong door policy is that agency will not turn you away. They will not tell you, oh, no, you're in a wrong hotline. They will always connect you to the right hotline that you need to be. So if you have any questions, I'll be around for a few, and thank you so much.
And just really quickly, because I know we are going over time, we did start a little bit late, so if anybody does have to leave, you totally can and continue watching online. We're just going to have Jose present, and then we're just going to open up the floor. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right. So thank you everybody for being here. We're gonna do this pretty quick. Everybody kind of said a lot of things, and I think that's the beauty of a community event like this. We all get to collectively contribute to a conversation that builds over the long term. My experience, I'm coming in here with just a lot of different things, a lot of different perspectives. I started my podcast, the Cicero's podcast, took a break from it, and now I'm back. And there's so many shifts that have been going on, not just in the community, but globally. We can look at the rise of cryptocurrency with the push for decentralization. We can look at now the rise of artificial intelligence that's also leaning more towards a collective experience. And to me, I'm a very spiritual individual. I see this as the transition into the Aquarian age, whether you guys believe in it or not. I think it's a beautiful dynamic that's going on, because now it's not just about this community, it's about the world, right? Because at the end of the day, we come into the system, we come out of the system, but we're not in a closed container, right? We're coming in, we're being fed or we're feeding, and we're coming out and we're bringing that to other people in our life, whether that be our family, our friends, doesn't matter, the community, whatever. So that's why this is super valuable for me, because I recognize that over the long term, dancing in the social dancing community for over like 5 years, that it's been powerful. I've been here through many transitions, and it's held me up strong because of that. And so that's why I'm here. The main thing that I want to really bring to the conversation is a conversation about leadership. Now I'm 25 years old. I have a son. He's like 1 year and a half now, almost. And so one might think, I'm a little too young to talk about leadership, but I think it's more so about bringing a new perspective, all right? In this community, it's very much top down. So we have the people that are in the community, and there's a pyramid at the leaders at the top, but that's not what is coming about now, thanks to things like social media, thanks to things like the social dancing community, where every single individual is dancing, interacting at a one-to-one level. We can spread something different, okay? We can change the dynamic, so now it's not down here to the pyramid, it's now, this is the leadership. We are the leaders, okay? And so I want to ask you to think about what does it mean for you to be a leader, because this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time, going through, and this is something that you're going to be facing when you're going to a job, or you're working under somebody, you're working with somebody, you're in a relationship. There's always leadership and there's always followship, and that's what I'm getting from the social dancing thing. This is what it's taught me so much. I'm a leader, there's a follow also, and so can I contribute to the conversation in the dance in a way that is collaborative, that is creative, that is empowering? And so thinking about that, that's the microcosm, that's the little example. Now let's bring it to the larger example. All right, who are the leaders in the community? And for me, I'm seeing a transition from the older culture of the ways that used to be, of performance, right? I know Juanito mentioned that. It's not about performance anymore, I think. People are gonna get tired of it. People are already getting tired of it. Looking at that in social media, a lot of people are getting tired of just getting pushed, just past content that is not real, that is not authentic, that you can't really feel. And why are we dancing? Because we want to feel. So to me, leaders are people that make you feel. Leaders are there who are present, that can actually be there with you, that want to work with you, that don't just want to tell you what to do, how to do it, etc. It's the ones that are going to be there when you're going through it, and you just need that presence. And so we're all leaders here in this community. We're all able to engage in the conversation and bring our presence and bring ourselves and empower people as we're dancing. And now when we feel that effect that we have on the dance floor, we can bring that outside and we can empower others, and do that in a way that is actually true to ourselves. And so me, I live my life freely. I don't really, I've been against a lot of everybody goes through bullshit, right? Everybody faces it, right? At the day-to-day level, we're always gonna have that decision. Are we gonna stay in our truth, or are we gonna succumb and walk away, lose our presence? So I'll leave you with this one thought that I had at a men's circle recently. We asked, what does it mean to be a leader? And one of the guys responded something which I think was very beautiful. To be a leader, you also have to know how to be a good follower. And that means, do you know how to follow your inner guidance? Do you know how to follow your truth? And in that way, it becomes a closed container. Now you are not dependent on somebody else to tell you what is true. Now you know because you're feeling it, and that's something that's real. So really consider that. I think that's really it. That's really what I wanted to bring. Everybody here said a lot of good things. I learned a lot, so I appreciate you guys for having me here. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I just want to transition a little bit over to kind of open the floor to any insights that anybody would like to provide. If you would like to share a story, something that you have heard from the panelists that you would like to talk on, or something completely different. We will go over 4 p.m. a little bit, but we are going to have like a 4:10 cutoff, so it's half an hour. And I just want to open up to now. We want to hear from the community. I think it's super important that the community speaks. So just again, just if you can raise your hand, and then Liz will come give the little microphone. And if there's any questions that you have for any of us, you can totally ask that for each other, maybe for the people watching. But yes, if there's anything, I'm just gonna open up the floor. Any comment? And also, you don't have to speak, don't worry. But online too, they're checking the comments as well, so you guys can also raise your hand. But yes, anybody online, you can put your questions in. But I just kind of want to open up the floor. So, how are we feeling? We'll bring the mic to you. Liz is getting a workout.
So I'm curious to hear, either from the audience members or the panelists, what are some creative ways to say no if, like, I'm not interested in dancing with someone in particular just because perhaps, like, they make me feel uncomfortable? And I know that we have the power to say no, but sometimes no may be taken, maybe that person isn't used to hearing no, so they may get, like, aggressive. So I'm just, like, curious to hear what are some, like, good phrases or things that you all have used instead of, like, saying no? Like, I'm just kind of curious if anyone would like to share. Because I think it's important to, like, prioritize your safety in that situation. And sometimes, like, I feel like I have to say yes because, like, I don't know how they're going to respond if I do say no.
My personal go-to is not right now, thank you. And I don't give any specific excuses, and that applies to both people I could want to dance with, just literally not right now, or people I never want to dance right now, and that's not right now, and next time it's also not right now, and not right now.
I want to touch on maybe also just the tone in which we say it, like a friendly no, and not just be like, no, you know? Like, yeah, so just the tone.
Yeah. I also normally say, like, I already told someone I know, so I'm just taking a little break out of respect. And I feel like that's also a really good way to just try to give you enough time to just go somewhere else and just bye.
That's a good one too. Yeah. Anybody else? Any of the panelists?
She's coming.
Okay, I want to say first of all, I always tell everyone it's your right to say no. You could just say no, and that's it. Now, if you want to be a little bit more mindful of your communication, I think like Liz said, the tone. For me, I've encountered it where if you're straight up lying about something, like, oh no, I'm done for the night, and then you're just saying that because you don't want to dance with that person, but you're actually not done, then it can come across. Like I've danced, I've asked, and this is my reflection with like professional follows. I've asked them and they look down on me like, no. And it's like, it just leaves a bad taste. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need to dance with you. I'm never gonna ask you again. There's follows, professional follows to this day, but because of how they treated me when I was starting to dance, I just have no intention in dancing with them. So I go back to, it's your right to say no as a lead, as a follower. Even as a lead, I've told people no. Some people have gotten mad at me. And I'm like, that's your own whatever. And you don't know what other people are going through. You don't know if they react to you badly, like even if a lead reacts to you badly. But ultimately, if you're being mindful about yourself, like start with, it's my right to say no. And then you can read people, right? You can start to read people. Especially alcohol's involved and all that gets blurred on both ends, on the people asking and the people responding. So it goes back to, it's your right and you can stand with it. If someone's not reacting well to you, then tell someone. Tell your friends, tell the organizers, and we watch it. I watch people when that happens.
I think that for me, I would also like to offer figuring out a way to prepare for that, you know, practicing it. It's always like practicing say no. Having that support system, obviously. And I think it goes back again to something I mentioned earlier is like my self-respect doesn't equate me not wanting to respect you. It has nothing to do about you. It has to do about my own safety, my own way of being. So I think also getting to know yourself, that you're doing it for yourself and you're not doing it for anybody else. Something I would also like to offer, you know, the community is if it does escalate, having some kind of hand gesture, some kind of sign, you know, to call somebody over. I know there's, if you know Alicia Villarreal, a Mexican dancer, you know, she used this this symbol. And people come over to her. So it's the same thing, you know, something should happen. I think it's something that could be considered to be implemented. Hey, like, I don't feel safe in this moment. Can somebody come and come and assist me? And the bystander, then is our job, holding ourselves accountable to go and support that person as well.
Just the last thing that I want to add to that too, because it's something that I teach my girls a lot. But I think we need to also just start understanding and accepting that no is a complete sentence, and we got to get over the fact that like you can't believe that like no, I shouldn't have to add anything else to that, right? And I do think that creating that change of no is a complete sentence, and if they want to react wrong, let them. Because that's their reaction, and again, we can't control other people's reactions, right? We can only control what I'm doing, what my reaction is, what my boundaries are, but no is a complete sentence, and I think that also us stepping in our power of being like, no, oh, okay, like the amount of times I've been called a bitch, the amount of times like I've had somebody be like, ugh, really, you don't dance with anybody? I'm like, yeah, I don't. I wonder why. Like, you know, like I wonder why. But I think just also, I just would like to encourage and empower, like, we don't need to make excuses for anybody else, nor for ourselves. Let's just have no be a complete sentence, and let's change the power against that as well. But really, really good question. Having yourself equipped with stuff is really important. Practice in the mirror, right? How Rosie and I did when we walked up to you. Have your friends walk up to you. Go back to your team and be like, hey, I learned something and I think we can do this in the team today. Can one of you just walk up to all of us so that we can verbally say no? Because actually doing it, it becomes muscle memory, right? And that's what it comes down to. So, yeah. Here we go.
I've said no to so many people out dancing that sometimes I say it when I actually want to dance. It's just like my instant response. So, like,
you know,
I'm like, actually, wait, come back. I want to dance with you.
Yeah, muscle memory, yeah. Okay, I want to open up the floor again. Any other topics or anything else anybody would like to share? From the chats, too. I don't know if there's anything in the chats. You guys can let us know. How are we feeling? Anything the panel said, too? Here you go, Queen. We're both running for you.
Thank you. So I am a survivor of domestic violence by someone in the dance scene, and I publicly came out with my story a couple years ago, maybe 3, maybe 2, maybe 4, I don't remember now. And it was like before this whole movement happened, and now seeing a lot of people like speak up, and it's been such an amazing thing to see. And I just want to remind everybody that if something does happen to you, like, speak up. And also, we're all part of teams, socials. We all have some sort of communication with, people who are in power, whether it's like DJs, promoters, company owners, studio owners. And I encourage everybody to just hold those people accountable. I think that for me, the hardest thing wasn't getting over, oh, I was domestically abused and like the trauma, yes. But then after that, it's like, now I have to deal with how the dance community reacted. And I think that has been one of the hardest things, like having and seeing my own directors, friends, just like invalidate it. Seeing my abuser out at socials and pretending like nothing ever happened has been very difficult. So hold your leaders accountable. If you see something and you're like, hey, like, maybe it's not the best person for you to hire. Maybe this person isn't the best person for you to have on your team, not just to avoid drama, but by holding that person accountable. So I just want to really encourage everybody to speak up, hold your leaders accountable, because I know that you had mentioned, like, we have power. But because we have power, we need to hold other people accountable as well. So just wanted to shift the conversation that way. And yeah, thank you guys so much for hosting this.
So I think it's very important that you said hold leadership accountable. That's part of my own reflection with regards to when you're specifically hosting socials, hosting classes and things like that. You're getting money out of people in the dance scene. You're teaching people how to do things. There's also a level of responsibility where you should be teaching classes correctly. You should be teaching good things. And then when bad things happen, when technique is bad, you correct that. When social aspects like this, you should correct that too. And that's my take here, is that people hosting socials where they're charging people and all that stuff, even if they're not charging, whatever, you're still hosting an environment. There's still a sense of responsibility that you should manage bad situations too, rather than just sweeping them under the rug. Sometimes it's difficult because you're not mature enough as an organizer, or maybe not mature enough as a director or as a class instructor, where you don't know how to deal with those situations. You come to something, someone tells you, hey, I've been abused. You're like, shit, I don't know how to handle that, right? There's situations where people have come to me and like, I don't know, what? I don't know how to manage that. But the goal is, what do you do with that? You work, and that's what we're working to build here, a community where we can turn to other people, even as dance leaders. You're like, yo, I don't know how to manage this situation. How can we help each other out, right? And then we've talked with different individuals to have that in place. But yes, definitely hold leaders accountable, and hold myself accountable and the people that we work with accountable.
Yeah, I think something also that needs to be said is that, I mean, there's been a lot of people being called out, and it's been over the years, not just been this recent year. There's a lot of things going on, but I think that something that needs to be said, especially to the people in terms of holding leaders accountable, is to let everybody knows what is going on. It's just whether you know what to do about it. And now a lot of people don't know what to do about it, and I think that it's very important that we keep it in awareness, and we keep it in our minds, and we keep it in conversation, and we keep it, more importantly, as a community. That's the only way this is going to be able to actually be answered to, and because the shift is happening and it's going on, but a lot of people think that they could just brush it under the rug. It's not going to work here. It's not working anymore. We see in the mainstream, we're seeing a lot of things coming out. It's not even so much, and I'm not a person that's gonna say attack the person, kind of, I'm picturing like pitchforks go to your house. No, like I don't think that's the way, right? I think the way is in your decisions, your individual decision. What are you consuming on social media? What are you consuming with your energy? What socials are you going to? Which teachers are you attending? Who are you learning from? Because that's what's going to say the most. Okay, now I think that if we keep on having this conversation, we keep showing up, we keep bringing these things to the table, it's going to have to be acknowledged. And if it's not, then everybody's going to know that's not being acknowledged. And so who are we going to trust? Trust is lost. Trust is the epitome of a successful business. Now, if you don't have trust, you're not going to have a good business. And I'll just throw it out there, just one last point in terms of business. Right now, we're all about, we think it's about profit, it's about money. It's about service. If you can serve individuals, if you can help them solve problems, then you have a business, okay? So we need to change the dynamic of it's about making money, it's about serving people. So that's my point.
Yes. First off, thank you guys so much for this. I think it's an amazing start. One thing I'm thinking about is, like, when I think of my own dance journey, I went social dancing for almost an entire year before I stepped foot in a studio, right? And I was at Tango the other night, and I was looking around, and now that I've been more involved in the community, and I know, like, a lot of the people here, I'm looking around, I'm thinking, like, probably 80% of the people in the room right now are more on the newbie side of things. So, like, where are they getting this information? Like, how are they, like, how are we protecting the newbies that are coming in? Because those of us who are here, we're part of the conversation, right? And we're working toward a solution. So, just kind of thinking of if you've been in an airport recently, at least in the women's stalls, right? Like, there's are you being trafficked? Signage inside of the women's bathroom. Pop-up banners are $50 a piece, right? I'm thinking, like, it would be awesome if those of us who are running events, like, have code of conduct, or, like, are you okay, or, like, something to communicate to those who are, like, not as hardcore as we are, who are following the right people on social media already, that are more like I don't know, I'm just thinking, like, how do we get this message out to more people faster? Or, like, when we take the break for the performances, can the person on the mic go over the code of conduct? Can we have people sign off on it when they enter the space? Like, just more, right? Like, I work in marketing, and, like, the rule of 7 used to be the thing where, like, people have to hear a message 7 times before it sinks in. That's now, like, the rule of 30, because we're so bombarded with so much stuff, right? So, like, this message, the code of conduct, what we expect of people, we have to, like, just keep hammering it and have it in every place where everybody can see it, so that it really sinks in and, like, gets across. So I don't know. That's just, I don't know what else to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It makes me think of, like, safety precautions. Oftentimes we have safety precautions for many other things. In recent years, I've been thinking, where are our safety precautions? What are we doing to make sure that people feel safe when going to dance? If the floor gets wet, you put a sign. When it comes to things like that, I think this is hopefully the beginning of those actions there are people that I know in Colorado who have those. They have a professional person on every social or every event. Should something happen, they are trained, trauma informed, ready to be there for the person who has been caused harm. There are those signs as well. And I think it's also here in San Diego something that I would say for everybody to consider is two things. One is having those guidelines. Like, what do I expect of you before coming to my event? You're an event person, so like gently calling you in on that. So like, this is what I expect of you. This is what I expect of everybody for safety concerns. One, another thing too, having some type of committee if need be, you know, if could be as well, because I mean it's more fem labor, but vetting these events, schools, people, and on a chart, you know, we see that all the time on Yelp. Like, well, this person has this review. Why aren't we doing that for events and stuff like that? Based on safety. Like, how do I know that this is a safe space? You know, who have they been with? Exactly. Exactly, and we do that with other things. Why aren't we doing this with the community? And it's something that I invite community members, bachata, salsa, organizers, for us to be able to do this right now.
Yeah. I also want I don't know, this doesn't even, yeah. I also wanted to say that it's really, in my opinion, it's really important to also start fact checking and also focusing on education when it comes to these kind of topics because, well, at the end of the day, accountability, leadership, and a lot of other topics are subjective, meaning every culture has its different opinion. So there's professionals in the area, there's psychologists, there's counselors, there's many people that we can go ahead and reach and to understand, well, what's the way for us to go ahead and what's a protocol from a professional and not just us giving opinions. I do agree that we should have more of a resource for us to give at socials or any other places where we're not just, well, it's not just a proof of liability, like giving like a liability waiver, but also like okay, but what would you do in a situation where us, the client, is getting attacked in a way? Yeah, and when it comes to, I also see every time I go dancing, so I started working full time, and I don't have much time to go out social dancing. But for when I do go out, oh, I forget. When I do go out, I see a lot of new faces, and now me who has been in the social dance scene for a long time, I feel like at one point, I felt really comfortable being Robertito the follow. But now even the newest are like, oh, he's a guy, he must be a lead. And I'm like, I know how to lead. Yeah, I'm not a lead. Like, I even feel a little bit uncomfortable that it's us who has to be giving or educating people on, look, I'm a follow. And then they're like, a follow? Or how's that person gonna react when in reality it's supposed to be the leaders? Yes, we're the leaders, but at the same time, it's a matter of education where, for example, in my case, it's a guy who likes to follow or who follows. And that I shouldn't be the one saying it or when it should be like a normality at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'll respond that. So like I mentioned, I've been hosting events for like over 2.5 years, all different kinds of events. And it wasn't until our last event, which was back in April, where we actually printed out our code of conduct. It was at the front desk, stuck it in the bathroom as well, and in it has a QR code for like reporting and things like that. And we've been talking about doing that in the scene, and it's just it's not enough, right? It's who are the individuals that are coming into our spaces? Where are they coming from? Like you mentioned, we put out stuff on social. Instagram is like Drinking Foundation's main mode of communication, but we're starting our email. We're starting this. I mean,
even myself, I've taken like breaks from Instagram where I don't even get that information. So how else do we start to reach other people? So the physical aspect, I think it's a really good point. And us to build as a community, then some of the dance leaders or some of the new, I think I've seen like 3 new dance pop-ups start to happen just this year. And I'm like, do they know about this? Like, are they going to eventually encounter situations where they should have a code of conduct, right? So as a community, we start to figure that out, because I wish I had help with some of this like 2 years ago when I started doing events, but instead I was reached with like jealousy and animosity from the other dance leaders because they saw me as a threat. So I think that aspect is still there in the old culture of like it's a competition. Like we've even experienced, I mean, I've been a dance director myself, salsa machata. I'm not directing right now, but when I used to, there's such a competition between the San Diego dance scene and drama between the dance leaders that it makes it hard to communicate. So sometimes it'll take that us swallowing some of our pride and our ego as leaders to then acknowledge like, yo, we could be doing better. But honestly, it takes a community to speak up. Me as a dance leader, maybe with Kenna, we're like the 2 loudest people in the room sometimes against other dance leaders, but we still sometimes are met with resistance by the old way of doing things. So we appreciate you guys being here, appreciate sharing our posts when we do things like this, like just really appreciate the effort. But it will take a community to shift the energy, to shift the vibe, to have more events have their code of conduct, to have more events be publicly about this. Like I struggle because I'm handling all this other stuff to even put out a post that says like etiquette, base etiquette, you know, because it has to be perfect. My logo has to be here, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of detail. So marketing help, we could use marketing help. I mean, maybe you're offering, maybe not. But it's stuff like that, right? It's how do we get the communication out there? So
I just want to add really quickly too on that. Like, it really is like education. It really comes down to people being educated, right? As leaders, it is our responsibility to educate our dancers. As event promoters, it's our responsibility to educate the people that are working the event, our volunteers, right? As company owners, like anything, right? But also as dancers, like we can educate each other. You know how many conversations I've had with like AC and like we talk about things and we're like, oh yeah, I didn't know that, and maybe she let me know something, right? Like, again, holding each other accountable as a whole community. It is a community-wide thing. That's why I also think conversations like this are so important, because without coming together as a community, we're all just going to continue acting the way we want to act, right? Everyone's going to continue to do Everyone's going to continue to do things the way that they see fit. Yes, and there's a lot of things, I do have to say, from the older generation, like we got to move with the times. Dance is forever evolving, right? We've seen how dance has evolved. So does everything else. We got to move with it, right? We have to be educated on roles, like follower and leader roles, right? That is one of the biggest things that I think causes a lot of division, because things are automatically assumed when we shouldn't be assuming anything for anybody, right? We have to be educated on what exists. We have to be educated on what a code of conduct means. I have reached out to every single leader in the dance community. I have asked them to please come together and put together a community code of conduct that everybody can use at their events. I will let all of you know that it has been worked on. Yes, I have put a lot of time and effort into it. Not everybody's going to use it, and that's okay. I don't need you to use my code of conduct, but I think that everybody should have a code of conduct. It should be out. A lot of people, the amount of times I have been to a social and I'm like, I don't see anything anywhere. If I am like new here and I don't know who to go to, there's nothing in the bathrooms there can be the code of conducts, right? Right at the event when you start, there are so many things. In the classes we can be educating about etiquette. In the classes we can be talking about the roles, right? So it really just comes down to education and continuing to have these conversations more than anything too. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, it's actually very similar to what you're saying. I think also the problem is in the community that there is not really structure, that when a new teacher starts teaching, they're not trained to teach people, whether it is emotional maturity, which should really come down, but also technicality of the dance itself. They're not really trained to become teachers. Like in ballroom dancing, to become a teacher, you need to be certified, you go through stages, right, structure. So it's hard to push on people even these boundaries and this code of conduct when they don't even
know how to teach. And there's a lot of, like you said, new pop-ups, new dancers start teaching, but they don't have this information we talk about. They don't even have the dance right education to teach dance, nor this. So this is the biggest issue. Like there should be, if somebody wants to teach, I believe there should be a training for a person to be in that position to lead a community.
My thought is back on dance roles and kind of breaking this binary of men follow. Sorry. Yes. Yes. I just broke it. Exactly. My point exactly. I'm done. No. But this is just, I think, a small thing that maybe we can start doing, because even me, like, I primarily follow. I would love to learn how to lead, but there's some women that I know lead. I don't know if they prefer leading, but maybe I want to dance with them as well. And so maybe instead of asking people if they want to dance, asking, would you like to lead or would you like to follow? So then it's not assumed and you're at least opening the door. And I think that's something small that we can all do to make the dance floor a more inclusive space. We've been talking a lot about like sexual abuse, but there's a lot of other types of like microaggressions that can happen on the dance floor. And maybe that's one way we can navigate it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that, yeah. Did you have something to say?
So, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to do a gentle check-in. I know because you said 4 times.
Yeah,
I'll respect that.
yeah. We'll just wrap up with the last couple of people that would like to speak.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
This is the sign on the like grocery store.
Right. This lane's closed. And there's 2 more people. Yeah, no, go ahead.
All right. So, I would just like to let you know that everything can start from us in the dance world. We don't need to be educated to care for each other. Empathy is also, we don't need to go to school for empathy. So if you see someone that you notice that she's in trouble, like empathize on that person, care for that person. If you see someone, or if someone comes to you and say, I got sexually assaulted, don't be like, ew, like, go away, don't talk to me. Don't be like that. Put yourself into that person's shoes. It's free, you don't need to be educated. And also, don't laugh at somebody. Like, if you see someone, because there's a festival where I saw a picture of a woman passed out outside the hotel. They posted on the Facebook, and instead of keeping that person safe, putting that person inside the room and making sure she's safe, people decided to take a picture, post it on Facebook, and laugh at it. So it's not, you don't need an education to empathize on that person. So with that little things, those little things, we can start some change.
I think Jose, did you have something?
Yeah, I think yes.
Yeah, and for me, it's not that I fully disagree, but I do agree education could lead to empathy in a more defined way. Empathy is also really subjective. For some people, empathy might be like, oh, I'll be there to hug you. For other people, empathy would be like, I'll give you money so you can get the resources. So I feel like if we as together create or find for someone to educate us on these topics, we might be able to fully describe what we mean by being empathetic to someone who's going through one of these cases.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah.
I think also for that it's good to ask maybe the person, what do you need? Because we all need different things. So somebody maybe expresses empathy through, financial support, or somebody just hug. So maybe asking the person what they actually need is maybe better.
Really good point. Yeah, I think Jose had something.
Yeah, so right now I'm thinking about a lot of different ways we can solve these problems. I think, there's different things that businesses can do. I mean, we have the universities, but the university structure is also kind of falling, with just a lot of people are going to online education. So that is also, I think, something that the community can leverage. Now, if you guys are listening and this resonates, you could talk to me or talk to any of us, and we can build something together. I think that's the main thing that I want to put out. Whatever I know, whatever I've learned through social media or whatever I've done, or whatever I've seen work, because I've also worked with entrepreneurs, we can actually build some infrastructure around the community. I already saw somebody wanting to build a social media app where we can review classes, workshops, etc. I think that's a great way to get community feedback, get some validation, and then we can see a way to, even chat through the social media app. Now that's for social dancers. We can build a whole culture there. I'm learning to code right now. Every single night I've been learning to code so I can actually make this happen. So I'm already putting that out into my platform if you guys are curious. And also I'm gonna be interviewing a lot of the people here. There's so much opportunity, so much, just opportunity for more education, more conversation, and collaboration.
I just wanted to add something real quick. Just thank you for this, event. It was super duper special. I'm also a survivor, so it's very meaningful. On the car ride over here, because we come from LA, just all me.
Thank you.
I was just saying that this is such a beautiful community activity, and it's something that we need more of. As a survivor, and as a person, sorry, I'm getting emotional. I just want all of us to remember that we're all human, No one is over anyone, and we all have a voice. So, this is the purpose of this sort of event and this sort of movement. It's not just for me, it's not just for Giselle, it's not just for, anyone, certain people. It's for everybody, kids, adults, older people, everybody, So, if you're a victim, a survivor, you're not by yourself, your words, your voice, your experience, it carries power, and it really motivates other people to even just stand up, to just validate themselves and to heal. And to the leaders of the community, sorry, I'm trying to think through my emotion. I think just give yourself the space to be vulnerable with us, because at the end of the day, we're here to dance, we're here to have fun, we're here to heal through dance. So we all need a safe space to do that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, that was really, really, honestly beautiful. Such a great way to put it. And that truly is what, this event is for. It is for all dancers, for everybody. Our community deserves it. We all deserve it. We can do better by ourselves. We can do better by each other. And I just really hope that this can be the start of having these conversations, the start of taking action. I hope, to anybody also watching or any other dance leaders that will watch this later on, I just really hope that this sparks inspiration, and it showcases that we should be doing better by our community. This stuff should not be normal, and it's way too normalized. I think, again, we're here to break barriers. We're here to have these conversations. We're here to actually make change. I would like to host these conversations at least once a month, and that's a minimum, especially right now. It's there's a train going, and you gotta get on it. You gotta go with it. You're gonna be left behind, right? So my goal really is to have these conversations at least once a month. I would love for all of you to be a part of them. I do want to bring in other panelists as well. I would like to bring in other people in, that might have psychology degrees that can explain certain things that maybe we don't understand. I think bringing in different people from different sports that do have structure is really important, because we can take so much from that, right? I have wanted to develop basically a training for teachers. I think all teachers should have sexual assault training, bystander intervention training. I think it's crazy that we don't have that. So I think that these are conversations that are going to start pushing us towards that. And I just promise you, the more that we have these conversations, the more that you use your voice and you use your power, because we are all very, very powerful. Even just showing up, it's really going to spark the change that we need and that we want in our dance community. So I just commend you all for your braveness, for being here. here, for holding space for each other, for holding space for us and letting us share our insights and expertise with you. I really encourage you to reach out to myself or any of the other panelists with any insights you have, anything that you're like, hey, I think we could really start implementing this. Just please talk to us. Without these conversations, we can't make change. Without these conversations, we're never going to come together and actually be a community. So let's remember what it means to actually be a member of an active community and really work towards the change. So I just wanted to appreciate, I do, but I just want to share my appreciation for all the panelists. Thank you so much for coming and just expressing, being vulnerable, and sharing all of your insights and expertise. Thank you all for coming and supporting. Your support means the world. The fact that you all showed up, I literally have been like stopping myself from crying this whole event. It really means a lot, you know, to anybody watching. I just hope that we can continue to have these conversations. I hope that we can continue to hold spaces for our dancers that are safe, inclusive, and empowering. And I just appreciate all of you. So thank you. Thank you so much. We are going to stick around a little bit to chat and kind of clean up if anybody wants to come get our digits or get our socials. There is some more pizza. We do have the resource table. I put a QR code. I did put together a document for everybody that includes a bunch of different resources. Sometimes you just need somebody to talk to that is somebody completely outside of the community and outside of people that you know. So there's a lot of different resources for you there as well. And I just encourage you to give yourself some love after, you know, this was definitely a heavy forum. I know that some different emotions came up, so just don't forget to give back to yourself after holding space for everybody else. So thank you guys. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Mic drop. Mic throw. No. He's like, I can't see it.